G'day! In this video we're going to be looking at the differences and the similarities between the DJI Mavic Mini, the Mini SE and the Mini 2. But before we look at the differences, it pays to look at what's the same. Okay, so if we look at the DJI Mavic Mini, the Mini SE and the Mini 2, they're all built upon the same platform. They have the same shell, they have the same body. There are some minor cosmetic differences, but nothing extraordinary to note. They are basically the same drone. The differences arise when it comes to the specifications, the performance abilities, and also the controller. If we first of all just run between the DJI Mavic Mini and the Mini SE and think about the similarities there, they are basically the same body. In terms of the video specs, the maximum resolution is 2.7K at 30 frames per second or 25 frames per second, whichever you need. If you want to access to 50 or 60 frames per second, you need to drop down into the 1080p. That's the same across both the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE. Okay, they both have 12 megapixel photos. They're both capable of taking JPEGs, no RAW. As far as the transmission system is concerned, they both use enhanced Wi-Fi. They're both the same drone when it comes to that, and that means accordingly the range is very similar to it, 4 kilometers maximum effective range in ideal conditions. The intelligent battery is fairly well interchangeable. You get about 30 minutes flight time out of it. There's a maximum speed for the DJI Mavic Mini and the Mini SE of 29 miles per hour. The DJI Mavic Mini SE does have a greater wind resistance though, so you may find some improvement there, but I would say it'll be negligible. Before the DJI Mini SE was released, there was some speculation it would be shipped with the same controller as the DJI Mini 2, but that's not the case. It has the same controller as the DJI Mavic Mini. Okay, so DJI say that one of the differences between the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE is that the Mini SE now has orange wingtips. Okay, well, it's not entirely fair to say they're the same drone because there are some cosmetic differences, and not only that, the SE is cheaper than what the Mini was when it was released. Okay, so now we've distilled the similarities between the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE and established they're the same drone. Let's think about the fundamental differences from the Mini 2. The Mini 2 comes crashing in with 4K resolution at 25 or 30 frames per second. If you need the 50 or 60 frames per second, you drop down to the 2.7K in this case, not the 1080 as in the Mini SE. It also has 12 megapixel photo capability, but you are able to take raw photos. And that's a huge advantage if you want to be able to adjust or edit the photos to the nth degree after you've had the shot. You get slightly longer flight time out of the Mini 2, 31 minutes over 30 minutes. And not only that, it's a faster drone at 35 miles per hour over the 29 miles per hour you can get out of the Mini and the Mini SE. It has a newer, more enhanced controller. And not only that, the transmission system in the Mini 2 is OcuSync 2.0. That more than doubles the effective range for the Mini 2 over the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE. It's able to fly out to 10 kilometers in ideal conditions. That is a huge distance and absolutely shatters the 4 kilometers available to the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE. Okay, with that sort of range, it's going to give you so much confidence to be able to fly in a whole different variety of areas, and then having the 4K resolution, it's going to allow you to punch into your videos and isolate areas of interest within the greatest shot. So from that perspective too, the Mini 2 is a superb option over the DJI Mavic Mini or the Mini SE. Okay, one last spec, and that is that the Mini 2 has a max bitrate of 100 megabits per second, and that is over the 40 megabits per second that is featured in the DJI Mavic Mini and the Mini SE. That allows for much faster, much greater transmission of the video signal, and I guess it has to be expected if you want to jump into the option of shooting 4K. You are transmitting a whole lot more data, so you are required to squeeze it in the funnel faster. Okay, well that about wraps it up. That's the similarities between the Mavic Mini and the Mini SE. They're basically the same drone, and then the fundamental differences between those two and the Mini 2. Wow, it's good to have options, right? It's really good to have options. Thanks a whole lot for watching, and if you want to check out any other videos on the Mavic SE, right here. Otherwise, have an incredible week and we'll catch you next time. Bye.